once again, come on out with David Leddick. We have a really special, great guest today. We have Shaun Dorsey, who is the star director, God knows what, of Shaun Dorsey Dance. And we're lucky to have him because he's here from San Francisco on tour and has agreed to have a little interview with Come On Out. And I'm sure it's a good change of pace for all of you out there. Shaun, I have 3 questions. How old were you when you kind of were aware that you were attracted to the same sex, not the opposite sex?
Wow, where to begin? How old was I? I would say I was a fairly young kid. I was definitely elementary school, maybe like grade 1 or 2, I'd say.
5, 6, 7?
Yeah, probably
I was
6,
4.
7. Okay.
I had a boyfriend when I was 4.
Wow.
He was 5.
5.
He was 5. He always said he was going to marry me when we grew up. That rat. And so you were very young. Were you attracted to a person or an image, or like a lot of people that see comic strips or movies or something?
I would say there was other kids in school. I remember a couple of teachers who I had crushes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when would you say, how old were you when you sort of acted on it? Not necessarily sexually, but had contact with somebody that you realized, gee, I'm really attracted to this person. There's something going on here between us.
Yeah. I mean, really for me, from the beginning of being a little kid, any of my crushes or kind of first, playing house, etc., has always been queer. I've lived the queer lifestyle since I was very young. So as far as I can remember, really.
But who's the first person you actually touched and said, I think I love you, or blah, 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 blah. Or, like in your early teens, very often there's like the thing where you have your best pal.
Yeah. No, I remember I had a couple of best pals in elementary school. And I couldn't tell you a name, but I'd say that was probably like grade 3, grade 2. Yeah.
So did you have a high school romance of any kind?
Back in the day when I was in high school, and this is going back a few decades now, there was nobody out in my high school who was out as transgender, and I'm trans, or as queer. So high school was not a safe time to really be out and do the dating. So I just buttoned up during high school. I didn't, reveal being trans or queer to anyone. So high school was a social but not a dating time for me.
Yeah, because I'm not so much older than you are. They hadn't even heard of being gay when I went to high school.
Yeah.
So it was fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I have, like, Noel will share his story that there were some folks, including Noel, I think was like the first guy who was out in his high school, or second person. But in my school and schools of friends of mine, no one was out as gay, lesbian, transgender. It was just, there was no language for transgender.
How big a school?
My school was about, I think, 2,500
kids.
Yeah, big school.
Curious.
Yeah.
Because there was a transition. No, but there's a transitional moment when it was really taboo.
Yeah.
And I'm from an age when people didn't even know about it, so it wasn't taboo.
Yeah.
There was a lot of same-sex messing around with boys.
Yes.
Not girls.
But it's not gay. It was just,
it was just what people
did.
Yeah.
What I will say is I did have some early role modeling in that a very big part of, and I always joke that formative parts of my my childhood were that I was at a very young age into the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Fame, the movie Fame, and these kind of, I think, shaped the personality.
Do you know the guy in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the blonde guy, Peter Hinton?
Yes.
That's a friend of mine. It's true, the most gorgeous man that ever walked the
Rocky,
earth. Yeah.
But the Rocky Horror Picture Show I watched when I was very young, and without having language for it, that was trans and queer, I think I was 7 years old when I first saw this movie, and I went to the theater. I guess there was no age restriction. Going to the Rocky Horror, I had a very cool, my friend.
I'm sure it was like for kids. Yeah.
Maybe. My friend Crescent, her mom had her when she was like 16, so she was the hip mom. And she took us to the Rocky Horror Picture Show many weekends. And but going there, I saw up on the screen, I saw trans, I just saw, I have no language for it, but I got there was a way that people could cross-gender and have queer love and queer expression and be fabulous and
Where was this?
This was in Vancouver, Canada. I'm Canadian.
Oh.
So I came out in Canada. That's
So
what
cute. I had a telephone call from Vancouver today.
You did?
I did, from a gentleman there. He's a photographer. He photographed this very sexy guy. And the guy's coming to Miami Beach, and I do a lot of books. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Vancouver is in the air.
In the
Your
air.
last question.
Yes.
So when did you say formally, okay, here I am, I'm transgender, this is me.
Yeah.
I am Shaun Dorsey. How old were you and where were you and what?
To myself or
to the world?
Coming out to the world.
Parents, the works.
Yeah. So I really didn't come out to the world and say it out loud until I was probably 20, I think, in university, and for the first time having the language, meeting other folks like me. So yeah, so probably I was about 20 when I.
And where did you go to school?
In Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Went to university in Vancouver.
So how is it you're in San Francisco?
Well, I visited San Francisco with the dance company from Vancouver. We were going to stay for 2 weeks, and I instantly fell in love with the city, and I was taking dance class every morning before afternoon rehearsal. We were performing there, and I met this amazing teacher, Liz Roman, who was teaching a class, which kicked our beep. Can I swear on it?
You may.
Kicked our asses. It was a very physical class, and it was, you know, release technique, unlike any dance I'd done in Vancouver. And I fell in love. She came to the show, she saw us perform, and on the last day of taking class, I went up and I was very nervous, and I said, "You're an amazing teacher. I'd love to come back one day and you know, learn under you." And she said, "Come join my company. We're starting a new show in November." And so I said, okay, and I decided to move to San Francisco.
Great.
Left everything behind, sold all my possessions, and came to the city, founded my dance company, founded also a nonprofit, Fresh Meat Productions, which is North America's first and only nonprofit that presents and creates year-round transgender arts programs. We have a massive national festival of transgender and queer performance called the Fresh Meat Festival in June. FreshMeatProductions.org is that.
This is in San Francisco.
San Francisco. It's kind of like the queer and trans opera. It's a gorgeous, you know, huge theater, national artists.
You know, I was a dancer. I was trained classical ballet.
You were?
At
Okay.
Metropolitan Opera just after the Civil War.
Wow.
But I'm interested. What would you say your technique is based upon? Graham technique or something, or a mixture of techniques?
I would say probably more Cunningham and Lamone is kind of more. Yeah, and then there's a lot of, you know, now people are calling it postmodern, and a lot of release technique, also a lot of partnering and contact improvisation, which is, I know, very California.
Yeah.
But a lot of the contact improv got me.
It's very interesting because I lived about a block away from Merce Cunningham, who I've known forever.
Wow.
And a lot of his dancers used to come to the opera to go to school class. Because Margaret Krask was the big teacher, and Anthony Tudor was sort of director of the whole thing. And that, at that time, really, if you didn't go to Graham, you would have some classes with your own company, but they went to a lot of ballet classes because that was what was available to you.
Ballet it's like your vitamins, right? It's good for you.
Listen, this has been a great interview. Shaun Dorsey, remember that name. Fresh Meat is the big kind of production company that he has in San Francisco, doing really, really interesting transgender productions and art. And remember it, tuck it away in your brain, okay?
ShaunDorseyDance.com. Thank you so much for the interview.
ShaunDorseyDance.com. ShaunDorseyDance.com.